Hey, everybody, welcome to this edition of Just Parlays with Chris King. I'm Jim Williams. Happy Wednesday. It was very good of Chris to remind me yesterday that Wednesday is today because it was something I forgot. And as you know, Wednesdays we get a little early start. It's 1 p.m. And so, Chris, last night, as I wanted to be, really get on the IUPUI train. So I watched for about 20 minutes, which is about all I physically could watch, of them playing against Ohio State. And, your prediction, my friend, bore out quite well.
Well, yeah, we said that, obviously 32 or 33 points always seems like a big number when you're dealing with a game, but we talked about yesterday, IUPUI being 1-14 and playing in the Horizon League, going on the road to face a Big Ten team, A, that's ranked, B, that was mad because they played back-to-back dud games, losing to Wisconsin, then struggling to get by Penn State, and playing at home. You had to figure that the Buckeyes were going to be motivated. I know our good buddy John was excited about that and thought, hey, we're dissing IUPUI, showing, no, as Rodney Dangerfield would say, no respect at all. Because we didn't think they were going to cover that line. I said, it's a lot of points, but, you can turn around and at the end of the day, you can lose by 50 and be like, well, why did I waste my money throwing out chasing the guy that was a 33-point underdog? That's pretty much what happened. I mean, 83-37, the final. I mean, it did actually stay under the number, which snapped the Jaguars' stunning 3-game streak of going over the total as it fell under the 128 mark. But yeah, a bad night all around for the Jaguars. On the plus side, they get another chance to turn things around, and it'll be a quick turnaround. Tomorrow night, they face Wright State again. That game will be at home at the all-exciting Indiana Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis.
Well, there you go.
Spoiler alert, we're going to take Wright State, even though they lost to Youngstown State the other day.
Absolutely. Before we get started, we got some fun games tonight, and where you can bet on IUPUI and pretty much everything else is on Caesar Sportsbook. And Whiners and Whiners fans, you're going to get a deal. You make your first deposit and bet using the code, Video Whiners, and this is what Caesars is going to do for you. You make that first bet and deposit, Caesar Sportsbook, on the app or their online service, and they're going to match your first wager up to $1,000. That's right, dollar for dollar, up to $1,000. So Caesar Sportsbook and Whiners and Whiners have this deal for you. But as I said before, you must use that promo code Video Whiners, Video Winners to get the deal. All the information is in the show box below. And if you're in the state of New York, well, they got a really cool thing going on there. And that is you get $300 in bonus cash for signing up. Plus, they're going to match your first deposit up to $3,000, but you have to use the promo code WINNERSNEW. That's WINNERSNEW. All that information is in the show box below. So you can get the Caesar Sportsbook, which if you're outside of New York is cool because they're going to match your first deposit and bet using the Caesar Sportsbook app or the online service. Wager all the way up to $1,000. And if you're in New York, they're going to give you $300 in bonus cash for signing up, plus an additional deposit of up to $3,000 on your first deposit. All you have to do is use WINNERSNEW for the promo code on that. So all the promo codes as well as all the information links are in the show box below. Please pay attention. And just like everybody at Caesars and, of course, here at Whiners and Whiners, you have to be 21 years of age to play, and we always say gamble, responsibly. Okay, now we're going to go and have some fun with some mid-majors starting out west. Let's go out west.
Yeah, we're going to go to the Laramie Gym at the awesomely named Arena Auditorium. It's nice to see in the era of arena names coming up with ridiculous sponsors, so they have a 37-word long name, or be sponsored by bad fast food chains like the Taco Bell Arena. We just go to the Arena Auditorium where Wyoming is at home as they face San Jose State in the Mountain West. We've been talking about the Cowboys a lot this season. They played some very good basketball. They're 13-2 this year. They're favored by 17 over San Jose State, who are 7-8 this season under Coach Tim Miles, who's done a decent job trying to turn around that program, which was absolutely terrible under Gene Preload the last couple of seasons. Unfortunately for San Jose State, this game's not in San Jose. They're just 1-5 on the road. They're facing a Wyoming team that's 6-0 at home on the year. And San Jose State hasn't had any luck in this series. Wyoming has won the last 10 meetings, including a 111-80 rolling in the last meeting between the teams back in March of 2021. They're 18-2 all time against San Jose State in the series. Wyoming's 69th in scoring offense at 77.1 points a game. They're 39th in field goal percentage at 47.5. They knock down better than 9 threes a game, which is 52nd in the nation, and they are 61st in scoring defense, holding teams to just 63.7 points a game. Meanwhile, San Jose State has major issues on the offensive end of the floor. They're 258th in scoring offense at 68.8 points a game. They're 213th in field goal percentage at 43.6. They don't get to the free throw line very much. They're 349th by getting to the line just 12.7 times a game. And when they get there, they don't have a ton of success as they're just 331st in field goal percentage. They're hitting less than 65% at the stripe. It's bad enough that you don't get there, but when you get there, at least knock them down.
Right.
San Jose State is 6-21 against the spread in their last 27 against teams with a winning straight-up record. Wyoming 7-2-1 against the spread in their last 10 against teams with a losing record. 9-3-1 in their last 13 as a favorite. And like we said, Wyoming has owned this series. If you look at the two losses that the Cowboys have on the year, they lost to Arizona, which nobody's going to fault you for losing at the McHale Center.
Right.
The way the Wildcats have played this year. And they lost by 3 on a neutral floor and in the Diamond Head Classic to Stanford. Now, I get Stanford's not a great team, but, you get a little bit of a hangover flying out there, playing in Hawaii where, you're 4, 5, 7 hours behind what you're normally playing. So the clock might say 7 o'clock in the evening, but for you it's 2 in the morning. And they kind of sleptwalk through that game. But still, Wyoming, they're playing very well for Jeff Linder. They got a good experienced team. San Jose State struggles on the road. I look for Wyoming to win that one comfortably at home to go to 14-2. We talked about Wyoming the other day when they went to the Lawlers Event Center in Reno, and they beat a pretty good Nevada team.
Yeah.
By double digits there. So look for them to take care of business at home against an overmatched San Jose State squad.
Well, Chris, so Wyoming has really been good for us. I mean, they've done us proud. The Cowboys have done, and we've also been very high on. You mentioned the Nevada team, the Wolfpack, and they too have done us proud. So we're having some fun with this conference, and these teams are doing. Again, this is why Chris is a master, and he wouldn't say this, so I'm going to say it for him. He's a master at showing you what's going on in these mid-major conferences where the value is there, my friends. You don't need to worry about Duke and Florida State or, Ohio State and Michigan in the Big Ten. Or, pick the conference, your Power 5 conferences. This is where you're going to find value all the time, and Chris is a master at it. So thank you, Mr. King, on that. So we're going to go to the ice next, right?
No, we have one more game.
Oh, I'm sorry, my apologies. Go ahead.
We're gonna go to the East Coast. We're gonna go to the Ocean State. Rhode Island,
right? Yeah,
is at home to face LaSalle in the Atlantic 10. Rhode Island 11-4, LaSalle 6-8. They are coming off a win over St. Joe's the other day, in a game where the Hawks completely fell apart in the second half, getting outscored 51-31, allowing LaSalle to pull out the victory. But this one, it's not in the city of brotherly love because no matter who you play when it's LaSalle, St. Joe's, Villanova, Temple, Drexel, or Penn, the big six over there in Philadelphia. LaSalle actually has to leave that area to go for this one as they go up to Kingston, and they face a Rhode Island team that's 7-0 at home on the year. LaSalle, they're a below-average team offensively. They're 224th in scoring offense. They shoot just 41.4% from the field, which is 304th in the country. They're 207 three-point shooting. Meanwhile, they face a Rhode Island team that's good defensively, and it's going to be a tough night for the Explorers. You look, Rhode Island 43rd in scoring defense at 63 points per game. They're 4th in field goal percentage defense, holding opposing teams to 37.1% shooting. Overall, they are 6th in 3-point defense, as opposing teams are limited, or 2-point defense. Teams are limited 41.2% from beyond or inside the arc. They're 117th in 3-point defense. One other interesting stat: Rhode Island has the second highest block percentage defensively in Division I. They block 21.1% of opposing team shots. When you're blocking 1 out of 5 shots, I don't care who you are. It's going to be tough for whoever's playing you on a given night.
Mhm.
And you're talking about a LaSalle team that's offensively challenged. They're 2-6-1 against the spread in their last 9 on the road. They're 1-6-1 in their last 8 against teams with a winning record. The Rams 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 overall, 5-1 in their last 6 as a favorite, 4-1 in their last 5 after a straight up win. I look for the Rams to go 8-0 at home and have another, to quote the old radio DJs on the classic rock stations, it's going to be a block party weekend, though, and it's going to be a block party Wednesday for the Rams at home as they smother LaSalle on the defensive end of the floor.
You know, Chris, one of the things that I've always thought was really a good thing for Rhode Island is that because of their location, it's a small state and it's with easy access to pretty much up and down the 95 corridor. They've played year in and year out a pretty good non-conference schedule against big teams, and that's pretty well boded well for them once they got into playing in conference, because they have been battle tested against teams that are much bigger, much stronger, and frankly much more athletic than they are. But it's been a good thing for them. It's really battle tested them for conference play, and for many times Rhode Island shows up at the tournament, and they may not always win, but they certainly can throw some scares into people.
Yeah, and to your point, they beat Boston College twice in the span of 5 days earlier this season, once at home, once on a neutral floor. They've also beaten Harvard on the road, and we know Harvard's one of those mid-majors that nobody wants to play come tournament time.
Right.
And the strange thing is, not only are they playing well defensively this year, they're good offensively. They're 19th in effective field goal percentage, shooting better than 55%. David Cox, he's done a real good job stepping in after Dan Hurley left town, and it just doesn't bode well for LaSalle. The Explorers don't have a ton of size when you get right down to it. They're starting 5. I mean, the tallest guy they have is 6'10", and he doesn't necessarily do a ton offensively. Clifton Moore. Outside of that, Jack Clark is 6'8". They've got a bunch of guys that are 6'4". And you're dealing with a Rhode Island team that, like we said, loves to block shots. You've got the Mitchell twins, one 6'10", the other 6'9", and they just get after you. And that's something that teams like LaSalle, they're not really equipped to deal with that kind of thing. That's what makes Rhode Island a tough team in the A-10, even in a conference that can be top heavy with Davidson and St. Bonaventure. Dayton is a good team, of course. St. Louis. And, Richmond, they've been up and down this year, but Richmond is usually a pretty good team. They're a senior-laden team this season, too. You have to look for Rhode Island to be up there in the conference standings come the end of the year.
Absolutely. All right, so now it's time to go to the ice.
Oh, wait, Jim. We've got a request. James wants to talk about High Point and Charleston Southern.
Well,
Smith.
All right. Tell you what, I'm going to let you do that because I haven't got a clue about that game.
Well, Tubby Smith and High Point, they're 7-9 on the year, but they're just 1-5 on the road this season. They're going to face a Charleston Southern team that has had all kinds of issues when you get right down to it. Barclay Radabaugh's team is 3-13. They've lost their last 7 straight games. They're coming off a 5-point home loss to Winthrop on Saturday. Before that, their other losses, the only loss that was by less than double digits was a 3-point loss to Tennessee State at home back in December. In between, they've lost by 24 to Manhattan, by 10 to South Carolina State, by 25 to Gardner-Webb, by 23 to UNC Asheville, and by 15 to Campbell. Now, don't get me wrong, Tubby Smith's boys aren't that great. They're 7-9, but they are coming off a 78-71 win over Lavelle Moton's North Carolina A&T squad that we've seen in the NCAA tournament in the last couple of years in the Big South. And if you look, High Point, they're 7-9, but if you look, they've also played some pretty big schools. They've already played Northwestern. They played at Notre Dame. They battled Furman in double overtime. They went to overtime against UNC Wilmington. They faced Michigan State on the road. They faced Kentucky on the road. So, they're a mid-major team in the Big South, but they're not going and playing, all the directional schools from insert state here.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, it's not necessarily a pretty thing when you're 7-9 and you're 1-5 on the road, but you're facing a team that's 3-13 overall, and Charleston Southern's just 2-4 at home on the year. High Point's favored by 5.5 points. One thing that I really like about this is Charleston Southern's not that great offensively, but they're horrible defensively. They give up 79.4 points a game, makes them 349th in the nation. They're 337th in field goal percentage defense. They give up a ton of rebounds. High Point, can shoot from the outside. They actually shoot better than 36% from three. It offsets their terrible free throw shooting. I think that High Point should get the win here. Tubby Smith's team, like I said, they're a bit more battle-tested than Charleston Southern is at this point, whose best opponent on the year was Clemson when they lost by 32. They also lost at Wake Forest by 36, at Mississippi by 25, and at Georgia Tech by 15. All those games were back in November. They haven't played anyone really of value since. Their lone wins this year, they beat Johnson and Wales, which I thought was a cooking school or something, but I could be wrong.
Culinary Institute, yes.
Yeah, they beat Bob Jones, which is a Christian school here in Greenville, and they beat Tarleton State, which is their one win over a Division I team. They beat them by 2 back on December 5th. I would give the 5.5 points and take High Point as Tubby Smith's boys put the beat down on a team that's actually at their level as opposed to all these higher ranked Division I teams. Like I said, you play Michigan State and Kentucky back to back as a team in the Big South. You're obviously preparing for something.
Right. In honor of James, who's been really good for us, James, my friend, here we go. You ready? What we want you to do, everybody out there, smash that like button, okay, and subscribe. James has been really good about keeping me on my toes about that. So, James, for you, my friend, let's make sure we smash that like button and also subscribe so you know what's coming down the pike. So what's coming out for the pike right now is, I think, finally, we're going to the ice.
Wow, finally, wow.
No, I'm just saying, you did a really good breakdown of that game for James, so that's good.
And real quick, he's also asking, I'm guessing he's asking about Army. He said Army West Point. Army's playing American tonight at West Point. Army's favored by 9.5. The Black Knights are 8-1 at home. American, they were a good team a while ago.
When Jeff Jones was coaching.
Yeah, they're just 2-7 on the road this season. I would think Army would win that one comfortably. I like the way the Black Knights played. They're an experienced team. They're a gritty team. They play well in the Patriot League. I mean, they're coming off a loss at Lafayette and at Colgate in their last 3, but they're playing at home here. They've beaten some pretty decent teams, and you can't fault Jimmy Allen's team playing at home against an overmatched team that's led by Mike Brennan.
Right.
But yeah, now to go to the ice. Since Jim does not want to talk about South Florida last night, we'll go to Madison Square Garden, where our good buddy Kenny Albert will be on call for TNT as the Leafs play the Rangers in an original 6 matchup at the good old barn of Madison Square Garden. 2 really good teams on the ice here. Toronto's 24-9-3, the Rangers 25-10-4. The Rangers 10-3-2 at home. The Leafs are 10-5-2 on the road. Interesting stat for you, Jim. The Leafs started the year 2-4-1. Since then, they're 22-5-2. Hard to argue with that kind of winning percentage. Sheldon Keefe's guys are playing well. They're 8th in the league in scoring offense at 3.38 goals per game. The Rangers are 19th. Really good matchup in that. Jack Campbell, 19-5-3 with a 213 goals against, a 931 save percentage, and 4 shutouts. And the goal Toronto, the Rangers going with Igor Shesterkin, 17-4-2 with a 199 goals against, a 939 save percentage, and 3 shutouts. The Leafs 10-1 in their last 11 on the road as a favorite. They're 14-3 in their last 17 on Wednesday. They're 9-2 in their last 11 against Eastern Conference teams. The Rangers 7-19 in their last 26 after a road trip of at least 7 days. One interesting thing about this, don't expect a ton of offense. Both meetings this season were decided by scores of 2-1. The Rangers' first matchup in overtime, the Leafs responding with a 2-1 win at the Scotiabank Arena on November 18th.
I was guessing you were going to say, let's not take the over on this.
Yeah. And Ryan, to answer your question, we start at 1:30 Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. On Wednesdays, Jim has another commitment that comes up just after 2:00, so we start at 1:00.
So sorry about that, boys. My apologies.
If our crack social media team actually put out that we started on Wednesdays instead of keep sending out 1:30 all the time, it would make things a lot easier because then nobody would be confused.
Yeah. We'll make certain that everybody knows it's 1:00 if we have to go door to door. So no, that line right there where you look at the goaltenders with Campbell, and Sorokin, that's all you need to know, right?
Pretty much. I mean, and like I said, both meetings this year were 2-1 games, and one of them, I think, Alexander Georgiev started for the Rangers. So it doesn't really matter. You don't see a ton of goals when these two teams meet, which is going to be in contrast to what we've seen lately after teams have come back from, the extended holiday break where all these games are, 7-1 and 6-5 and all that. This one's going to be another, it's going to be the equivalent of IUPUI Chicago State where it's a rock fight. You don't see much on the scoreboard.
Right.
But it'll be a highly entertaining game anyway. Anytime you get original 6 teams together, it's always entertaining.
Well, and they're too good as well.
Yeah.
All right, so from the Garden, we headed over to
New Jersey. Just get to go across the bridge.
Across the river.
To the Prudential Center where the Devils host the Coyotes. Now, I know we said we wouldn't pick on the Coyotes after they beat Montreal the other day, but, there's only 3 games on the slate tonight, so we had to pick somebody. Arizona's 9-24-4 this year. The Devils 14-18-5. New Jersey's 9-7-3 at home. Coyotes 4-11-3 on the road. The Coyotes second worst in the league in goals per game at 222, and they're dead last in goals against at 368. They average only 2 goals a game on the road this year. New Jersey, they're middle of the pack offensively, 17th at 2.86 goals a night. They're 26th in goals against at 338. But if you look at home, those numbers flip. They average 3.16 goals a game at home, and they only give up 2.84. So apparently you can play decent hockey as the home team in New Jersey. It's expected to be Karel Vejmelka, 5-14-1 with a 321 goals against and a 907 save percentage with 1 shutout for Arizona between the pipes. New Jersey's hoping Mackenzie Blackwood, who's 9-8-3 with a 324 goals against and an 898 save percentage with 2 shutouts, will be back out of the COVID protocols and in net. Otherwise, it'll be John Gillies, who's 0-2-1, and nobody wants to talk about him.
No.
Arizona 14-40 in their last 54 overall. They're 14-41 in their last 55 as a road underdog. And New Jersey comes in 9-3 in the last 12 meetings between these teams, and they've won 5 of the last 6 at the Prudential Center against the Coyotes. It's a big number there, minus 215, but you'll see as we talk about it later in the show, the other game that's on the ice tonight has a even more prohibitive number than that. Look for the Devils to beat the Coyotes tonight.
On to the hardwood. And
NBA right there.
That tells you right there.
And we're going to go to the AT&T Center where the Spurs face the Thunder in a battle of disappointing teams. Well,
remember the Alamo.
I'd say the Spurs are disappointing. I don't know if anybody expected anything from the Thunder, but either way, both teams are bad. The Thunder 14-29, the Spurs 16-28. The Spurs are just 8-13 at home, so they're slightly better at home than they are on the road, where they're 8-15. Meanwhile, the Thunder 6-15 as the road team this season. Big difference offensively between these teams. The Thunder are last in scoring offense at 100.8 points per game. They're 29th in field goal percentage at 41.8. They're last in three-point shooting at 31.3%. The Spurs are 10th in scoring offense at 110.5 points per contest. They are 11th in field goal percentage at 46.1. They're 13th in three-point shooting. Both teams are relatively healthy when you get right down to it. The only guy missing for the Thunder, Kendrick Williams, he's in the protocols. Trey Jones in the protocols for the Spurs. Neither one are really major impact movers for those teams when you get right down to it. The Spurs are 4-0 against the spread in their last four after a double-digit home defeat. They are 18-7-1 against the spread in their last 26 after a straight-up loss by double digits. They're 5-2 in their last 7 at home as a home favorite. And the Thunder have gone just 2-6 against the spread in their last 8 in San Antonio. If Popovich and the Spurs are going to turn it around, they need to do it during this stretch where they don't have to leave the state of Texas until the end of January. So even their road games are going to be either Houston or Dallas.
Right.
This is the prime time for the Spurs to try and make a move. I mean, the bottom of the Western Conference is crowded. You look at Portland is 18-25 and holds the last seed in the play-in tournament. Spurs 2.5 games behind them going into tonight, and they have Sacramento in between themselves and Portland. If you're going to get healthy and get into the field, Popovich, now is the time. I mean, you look at their next few games for the Spurs. They've got Oklahoma City, then they get the Nets at home Friday. They get Philadelphia at home Sunday. Then they go to Houston before they get Memphis and Chicago at home, and then they go to Phoenix. If I'm San Antonio, I've got to win at least probably 3 of the next 4 here between Oklahoma City, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Houston to have any kind of thoughts of making a move. And Brooklyn's beat up. Let's be honest. Philadelphia is inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get from them on any given night. And Houston's terrible.
Right. Now, you did leave the most important thing about this game off, and I'll just fill it in for you. And that is if the Spurs score 100 or more points, you get a free taco at Del Taco.
Well, there you go.
You know, I don't know how you left that off, but okay, fine. That's what I'm here for.
I don't have a Del Taco here, so.
No, you know.
They're not going to give me any
You
free.
also don't live in San Antonio, so it makes it a little more difficult to.
Well, they could send me the tacos.
Sorry?
They could send me the tacos. I'm sure they'd send Bill Walton tacos if he wanted them.
I assume they probably would. All right. From the Riverwalk, we head off to.
We're going to stay in the Lone Star State. We're going to stay down in
north.
Mark Cuban's boys, 4-point favorite over the Raptors. Toronto's 21-20, Dallas 25-19. The Mavs have played better basketball of late. They're 13-8 at home. Toronto is just 9-9 as a road team this year. Offense, not the name of the game for these teams. Toronto is 22nd in scoring offense at 107 points a game. Dallas is 25th with 105.5 points a game. On the defensive end of the floor, Dallas is third. They give up just 102.7 points a game. Toronto is 11th, giving up 106. Kem Birch is out with a broken nose. Goran Dragic is also out. He hasn't played since November. I'm guessing he might have just left and nobody wants to not tell anybody that he retired. Gary Trent is questionable for the Raptors with an ankle injury. He's missed the last couple. For the Mavericks, Reggie Bullock and Max Kleba, both questionable with knee injuries, but they do have Kristaps Porzingis, Luka Doncic, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith. Apparently, Willie Cauley-Stein might actually be back tonight for the first time, and who knows? Not that he's overly relevant, because, come on, you got Boban Marjanovic, and, you know, everybody loves him. The Mavs 7-0 in their last 7 after an ATS loss. They're 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 when their opponent gives up at least 100 points. In addition, the Mavs are 4-1 in their last 5 as a home favorite and 4-1 in their last 5 at home overall. According to James, we're apparently not missing anything from Del Taco. So apparently, Jim, they're not that good.
Well, you know.
But I guess if it's free, does it matter?
Right. You know, if it's free, it's for me, as the old saying goes, right? So, well, okay. So the Mavs are not going to have much luck tonight. I'm sorry, the Raptors aren't going to have much luck tonight against a Dallas team playing at home. Before we go to our 2, 4, and bunches, let's go back and talk a little bit about our buddies at Caesars. Now, Caesars has a deal for us because they love us at Winners and Whiners, and we love them too. You make your first deposit and bet using Caesars Sportsbook app or online service. And they're going to match that first wager up to $1,000 as long as you use the promo code, which is on the screen as we speak, Video Winners. Okay, so Video Winners will get you that deal. Now, if you happen to be in the state of New York, well, they've got a really cool deal in the state of New York, and that has to do with what they call the Empire State Royal Welcome. You get $300 in bonus cash on sign up. Plus, they're going to match your first deposit all the way up to $3,000. Use the promo code, and it's scrolling right in front of you right now, Winners New, okay? So all the information on both of those deals is in our show box below. Please go out and check out Caesars Sportsbook. You'll be happy that you did. They're giving away free money, folks. You cannot not take free money. It's just not right. It's not American. So go do that. You have to be 21 years of age to participate. And as we've always said, both here at Winners and Whiners and with Caesars, bet responsibly. Okay? All right. Now, we are going to go for two for the money, right, Christopher?
That is correct.
All right, here we go for two for the money.
I like in the SEC, I know we don't necessarily talk a ton about power conference teams, but that's because a lot of them get overvalued ridiculously. But in this one, I like LSU. They're on the road. They're going to go to Tuscaloosa to face Alabama. They're a 4-point underdog, which is kind of surprising when you look at the records. I mean, LSU is 15-2 on the season. They're coming off a home loss to Arkansas Saturday. Their only other loss was at Auburn. But you're facing an Alabama team that has dropped to 11-6. They've dropped 3 in a row. They lost at Missouri. They lost at home to Auburn. And then they lost to Mississippi State. All of a sudden, Nate Oates' team, they've fallen out of the rankings. And I think the big issue is for the Crimson Tide isn't the fact that they're offensively challenged, because they clearly aren't. I mean, they score a truckload of points. The problem is that they have issues on the defensive end of the floor.
Right.
Nate Oates' team comes in 3/10 in the nation in scoring defense at 74.6 points per game. Meanwhile, LSU is 7th. They give up 57. The Tigers lead the nation in field goal percentage defense at 35.4%, and they're 7th in three-point shooting defense at 26.4%. That's going to make it for an uphill climb for Alabama. I mean, I know that the Tigers the Crimson Tide are going to love to run. They're going to want to push the tempo. That's their style. They're 26th in the nation in adjusted tempo at 72 possessions a game, while LSU is 76. They average better than 70 possessions a game. But the difference in this one is LSU knows how to play defense, and Alabama, that's not really their forte. That's going to be something that plays to the favor of the Tigers in this one. I would take the points on the road and watch LSU, win the game outright probably, but it's never a bad thing when you're taking points when you're the ranked team on the road. The Lakers over the Pacers, we always talk about fading Indiana. The latest injury report that I saw for the Pacers, Malcolm Brogdon and Jeremy Lamb are both questionable. Of course, they were questionable the other day and didn't play. TJ Warren and TJ McConnell are out. Also out, Miles Turner, who has a stress fracture in his foot. They say he'll probably be out past the trade deadline, which is a big blow for the Pacers. As now, if they were to try to trade him before then, they would get a depreciated return on investment. So you might see him stick around until the offseason, then maybe dealt closer to draft time. But, I mean, that's a big blow for Indiana because he's the big presence in the middle. He cleans the glass. He alters shots, makes teams think twice. That's going to put a lot more pressure on Domantas Sabonis to try and do that. Meanwhile, LeBron James is probable. Anthony Davis still out. Carmelo Anthony questionable with a back issue, but still playing at the Crypto Arena. We just saw the Lakers beat the Jazz the other night. I expect them to take down Indiana, especially after watching the Pacers give up 139 points to a Clippers team without Kawhi Leonard or Paul George. You can't trust the Pacers at this point.
Well, I was just going to say one quick thing. If you are a Lakers fan, I was reading the LA papers this morning. There's rumblings. Keep a lookout. There's rumblings that there could be a coaching change there. I don't necessarily see that coming, but it's, you never say never. in the NBA when it comes to coaching changes and an under achieving Lakers team. But that being said, you're right. There's no reason for them to be upset against playing Indiana. They should easily win that game. And we're off to the Creighton Blue Jays and St. John's Red Storm.
Well, just to touch on that real quick, Jim, about if they fire him, it's not Frank Vogel's fault that this team is the way it is. Frank Vogel did not make the trade to bring Russell Westbrook to town and ship out a whole bunch of guys.
Right.
Frank Vogel didn't say we should try to build our team around Westbrook, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Carmelo Anthony, and then a bunch of scrubs.
Right.
That's Rob Pelinka's fault for going out and then making this deal, thinking that, hey, it's okay if we've got a bunch of guys that have been in the league for 300 years and are, 5,000 years old, or who are injury prone. I mean, look at how many injuries Davis has had in his career.
Sure.
And then you've got, James is going to be is 37. Dwight Howard is, 30. He's going to be 30, or he's 36. Carmelo Anthony's 37. Westbrook is only 33, but it's an old 33 because he tries to shoot the ball on every freaking possession and tries to get on the stat sheet any way he can.
Right.
I've watched some of the shots he's taken this year where he'll take a jump shot from 12 feet and he'll hit the top of the backboard and be nowhere near the rim. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. It's there's not a lot the coach can do in Vogel. But I'm just saying, I'm just reporting what I hear. So
Oh, I get it, but I mean, if anything, they should be looking at Pelinka as opposed to Vogel.
Right, I agree.
Nobody was going to fire Frank Vogel when they won the title.
Nope, nobody's looking to fire Jerry West whenever he was there either.
True, and D, you're right. Turner's not a great rebounder, but he's still a presence inside that can make teams think twice. He averages better than, I think it's 2.8 blocks a game. So he's kind of the poor man's Gobert who just doesn't know, right, but he hasn't learned how to rebound properly, even though he's been in the league longer.
An intimidator. Yeah.
But then, like you were saying, Jim, Creighton -3.5. They're at home against St. John's. Mike Anderson's team, 0-3 on the road this year. They're 10-5 overall. They've had a lot of issues with COVID. And I know they're going to try to press and press and press because that's what they do. Mm-hmm. Coming from that Nolan Richardson coaching tree. Mm-hmm. But, St. John's, it's just tough to have a ton of faith in a team that, has to rely on defense, and because they're not necessarily all that great offensively outside of Julian Champagne and Pasha Alexander. I mean, who else do you rely on? Nobody's going to go to Tariq Coburn in crunch time, and nobody's looking to Dylan Adai-Wusu or Steph Smith. Mm-hmm. It's not feasible. And then we talked about when we talked about taking New Jersey over Arizona, we said the other game on the board was prohibitive. That's Colorado -260 on the road at the Honda Center against the Ducks.
That's a lot of juice.
Yeah, basically, when it's Colorado against pretty much anybody, you're going to be dealing with a lot of juice just because of the fact that the Avalanche are so dangerous offensively. I mean, you look at the fact that they're averaging, 4.25 goals a game this season, Jim. I mean, you haven't seen numbers like that probably going back to the heyday of the Oilers dynasty in the 80s, right, when Gretzky, Curry, Messier, Coffey, mm-hmm, and everybody's favorite goal-scoring sniper, Dave Semenko.
Right.
Let's not forget Glenn Anderson, but I had to get Semenko in there because you can't talk about the Oilers without talking about old cement head.
Nope.
And the Ducks, they've been up and down. They're hoping that John Gibson will come back out of protocols today, but still, it's tough to slow down Colorado. I mean,
yeah,
when Colorado loses, it's 5-4 or 6-5 or something like that.
It ain't easy, folks.
Yeah.
4 for the money.
Like we said earlier, the Leafs over the Rangers at -160. Toronto's been on a roll since late October. The Rangers are playing well, but they've been on the road for an extended period. This might be a little bit of a rough start coming back home for them. But like we said, tune in on TNT. Listen to our buddy Kenny Albert doing play-by-play. At least he doesn't have to go anywhere for this one. His other trips. We talked about the Mavericks -4 over the Raptors. Dallas has played good basketball. They're trying to chase down Memphis in the Southwest Division. It's pretty much a two-team race because you look at the other three teams, and it's the Spurs, the Pelicans, and the Rockets. I don't think we need to worry about those teams making some run for the division crown. Speaking of the Spurs, look at that. We put them there too because they're playing the Thunder, and Oklahoma City's terrible offensively. San Antonio's offense should be able to take advantage of that and get the win. And our good buddies, Jeff Linder and the boys up there in Wyoming at home over San Jose State. We said Wyoming's won 10 in a row over the Spartans. They've won 18 of the 20 meetings all time. They beat San Jose State by 31 the last time they met. Wyoming's unbeaten at home. San Jose State 1-5 on the road. The Spartans really don't have a go-to guy. Wyoming's got 4 guys that average in double figures and a 5th guy that's right around the cusp of it. You have to think that Wyoming will take advantage of San Jose State's issues and cruise to an easy win.
There you go. All right, finally, we get to what we like to call, just go crazy, folks, because there's a lot of fun options here. And Chris will tell you, take 2, take 4, take 6, take a bunch, or mix and match. There's plenty of good stuff to be had in our shot in the dark.
Right. And like we said earlier, Rhode Island -13 over LaSalle. The Rams are unbeaten at home. LaSalle is 1-3 on the road, and they're not playing in the Philadelphia area where they seem to spend most of their time. The Rams are going to have a block party and swat shots from LaSalle all over the place as they get the win there. Loyola, Maryland, another team that nobody really talks about. They're at home in this one, and they're surprisingly a 2-point underdog to Boston U, good old BU. You never hear about them in the bean pot when it comes to
hockey.
Yeah, hockey with Boston College and all the boys over there. But,
and Northeastern University. And
right.
That's that's one of the toughest tickets in all of Boston sports is the bean pot tournament every year between Harvard, BU, Northeastern, and Boston College.
I can imagine. I mean, you've got 4 really good hockey teams there.
Mm-hmm.
BU, they're 11-8, but they're 4-5 on the road. Meanwhile, Loyola, Maryland, the Greyhounds are 7-0 at home, and on top of that, they're on a bit of a win streak. When you look at it here, the Greyhounds, they've won 5 straight. They beat Holy Cross. They beat BU at BU by 8 back on January 7th. They've also beaten Bucknell, Lafayette, and Lehigh in the stretch. So they've bounced back from that New Year's Day loss to Army in overtime that opened up Patriot League play. I mean, they've played some good basketball. You have to think that they can prevail at home. I'm surprised they're an underdog after already beating Boston U on the road. So take the points. Mississippi State +6 on the road over Florida down there at the
Stephen
O'Connell Center, Exact Tech Arena, whatever, beer barn.
I like to call it the O-Dome.
Yeah, we'll just call it the O-Dome. That makes it easier. Mississippi State's getting 6. I know that everybody's like, well, but Florida's at home. Yeah, well, Florida was at home last month and lost to Texas Southern, who was 0-7, and they lost that game by 17. So we're talking about a Mississippi State team that just beat Alabama, like we talked about a few minutes ago. I like their chances here. Kermit Davis's team, led by Iverson Molinar, they're a pretty decent team. I covered this game for Winners and Whiners. It's going to be a rock fight in the ACC. Pitt, they're playing at the Peterson Event Center at home against Virginia. They're a 3.5-point underdog. I'm going to take the points in Pitt. The first meeting last month down there in Charlottesville, Tony Bennett's team scratched out a win by the narrowest of margins. Final score was 57-56. And sadly, that game pushed the total because the odds makers had it at 113. This one, they're playing in Pitt. I think that the Panthers can pull it out or at least stay close enough to win. They actually bumped the total up for this one to 116, so they're expecting offensive fireworks. No truth to the rumor that you can get a Primanti Brothers sandwich if either team hits 60 points. We talked about the Devils over the Coyotes. I look for the Leafs and the Rangers to stay under 5.5. Like we said, both meetings this year were 2-1 games, each team winning once. By the same token, Colorado and Anaheim, I look to go over 6. You get right down to it. Colorado's averaging 4.25 goals per game. They should be able to help push that along. On the hardwood, the Heat minus 9.5 over Portland. This is what we were talking about the other day when James was asking why Miami was going off at minus 650 or whatever to win the Southeast Division. They're getting healthy. They had Jimmy Butler back. Bam Adebayo's back after his thumb surgery. Meanwhile, Portland, they got McCollum back the other night, but Damian Lillard's out until mid-March after abdominal surgery. Norman Powell is doubtful tonight. This game's at the FTX Arena in South Beach. Look for the Heat. The Kings, can you believe that? They're favored by 7 over somebody, but then you look and see it's the Pistons. The Pistons lost last night, failing to cover as a 15.5-point underdog. In typical Detroit fashion, they lost by 16.
Some things.
They said take the Warriors. They tried to make it interesting, but, playing the second, a back-to-back, you have to think Sacramento can win here. And Denver, -8 at the Ball Arena over the Clippers. The Clippers are extending the time off for Paul George. He won't play for now, I guess, another few weeks. They're trying to see if he can get that elbow better. But, the Clippers, they've struggled on the road. I don't see a whole lot for them here. To answer Elliot's question real quick, like I said, I like Pitt over Virginia just because of the fact that Virginia has no offense to speak of whatsoever, and they won by 1 in Charlottesville. As for Virginia Tech, they're going to NC State. I don't know what's going on with the Wolfpack. They've kind of fallen apart after playing some good basketball. They started 7-2. Since then, they've gone 2-7, including that loss to Wright State. They also lost to Richmond. I think things went south for them after they blew that double-digit lead against Purdue and lost in overtime. I look for the Hokies to come up with the win. Kevin Keats has got to figure it out, or he might be on a short leash up over there in Raleigh.
Right.
But, yeah, I would go with Pitt, and I would go with Virginia Tech. And for the Hornets over the Celtics, I haven't heard if Kelly Oubre is coming out of the protocols. Last I knew, he was still out tonight. Let me take a quick look and see if they
have updates on that.
Yeah, I'm just checking here to see. He's listed as questionable now. The Celtics, Marcus Smart is questionable. They're playing in Boston, though, and the Celtics have played well at home of late. They just came off a win over the Pelicans. The big thing is how well LaMelo Ball is going to play because, he didn't play Monday with a non-COVID illness. He's not on the injury report, but still, I look for Boston probably to scrape that one out at home.
There you go. Any other final questions before we take an exit and get ready for a Thursday at 1:30? 1:30. Check your
little. Kudos, Elliot, on hitting that 17 parlay, even though you were out drinking and partying. Hopefully, that $129 you won didn't get spent on booze or food.
Right. Don't waste it. I remember I'll leave you with this, Elliot. Interviewed Tug McGraw many years ago. And Tug had been paid very well at the time. And I asked him, what did you, how did, he had come a little bit on some hard times. And I said, how did it get like that? So he goes, well, I spent a lot of money on women, a lot of money on booze, and then I wasted about $10,000. So that's Tug McGraw for you. And that's what, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But best of luck to you, Elliot, and the rest of the gang out there. Be sure, in our show box, we have plenty of cool stuff with Caesars Sportsbook. So if you're going to bet and you happen to be in one of those states where Caesars has a sportsbook, we would greatly appreciate it. Meanwhile, at 3 o'clock today, back to the window with our buddies, Scott and Scott. They will be giving you all the fun stuff that's coming up tonight from their standpoint. So, right here on the Winners and Whiners Sports Broadcasting Network betting.
Yeah, make sure you point out that they stole all my stats to use for their Bet the Farm yesterday because they never talk about hockey, but all of a sudden they pick the Islanders as their Bet the Farm.
Well, maybe that's because Rochelle's an Islanders fan. Who knows?
No, he's actually a Rangers fan, I think.
Okay. He lives on the island, so I assumed he was an Islander.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because back when the hockey season started, remember he was talking about he picked the Rangers and they got smoked.
Yeah, that's true. Well, all right. Anyway, for Chris and myself, we've had a lot of fun. Thank you all for dropping by. Don't forget to smash that like button and hit that subscribe button so you know when we're going to be here. But we will be here tomorrow, I promise, at 1:30 Eastern time, and enjoy your day.
And remember, fade the Pacers, kids.
Yeah, if you're going to do anything, always fade the Pacers. Mark that down, because that's the most important thing that we can possibly tell you. Until then, take care, folks.